Howdy guys, it's Joe here, and today we're going to talk about one of the best tracers in the entire game, Rogue. You can see him right in front of you, and he's actually speaking not even English, so you really just kind of have to look at his gameplay instead of what he's talking. Of course, I will, as always, leave the VOD in the description down below, so you can look at it if you want to, but we're just going to talk about it today and just kind of see what he's doing. To begin with, he is, of course, playing Tracer on defense, and I feel like a lot of people think that Tracer is unplayable on defense. And while let's say that she's a little bit harder to pull out and harder to play really well, she can still really pull it out. And if you do position yourself super well, as he does right here, you can get a lot of picks and help your team stop huge pushes. You know, the opponents don't see you coming, and if you can get picks on the back line, you should be really good. Right there, of course, you did see somebody, which was Zenyatta. They happened to find the Tracer, so that was unfortunate, and he does the most optimal thing. He runs away. I feel like a lot of people right there would have just tried to go in and go for the kill in Zenyatta. You really want to play this character a lot more safe than you'd think so, and that's the first thing I'd like to say. I feel like a lot of people go really ham as, you know, Tracer. They try to get in as much as they possibly can, and they don't really realize how safe she is. What you really want to wait for a lot of the time is wait for moments until people are caught out, as that Zenyatta is in the corner. And, you know, you can just kind of go and do a lot of damage. But yeah, as we see right here, until people are caught out, going for the kill and then get back. You really can be quite safe, wait for opponents to overextend, wait for opponents to make big misplays, or for opponents to just make bad pushes. You really just kind of have to wait for mistakes, and then from there, you can just go in and you can play very safely. Of course, you can still be picked off like that, but for the most part, if you're playing a lot safer than you would normally play with as this character, I feel like you're going to be doing a lot better. Her mobility is just so strong, and it's so good at punishing because, you know, if they happen to just push up just a little bit too far, you can instantly jump on them. As well, I feel like a lot of people do have the feeling that they should just be spamming their gun so that they can charge their ult as fast as possible at far range. Really, I'd say it's worth it to try to, you know, poke a little bit, but you should mostly just try to charge your ult. When you're getting close up, you know, it charges so fast anyways, they shouldn't really have to worry way too much. Alright, here, of course, he's stalling. Tracer is a really good character to actually stall on the cart because, again, she is so safe on the cart. If they happen to try, you know, jump in front of the cart, you can just run away. While if they don't actually try to go for a quick push, you can just run from the right to the left, to the right to the left, and just kind of go from there. Again, we see an unfortunate pick, you know, just something that can happen. Tracer is a little bit hard to play against RogUe as, you know, you can play really well, but if they happen to get one or two good hooks, you just kind of put out of the game for a while. Still, he did actually get a lot of time that he got on the enemy team right there, and he actually got quite a bit of damage, and I think he even got a pick, which let his team continue to do pretty well. Even so, as you see right here, if you have good enough reaction time, you can actually beat out that RogUe. It is pretty difficult, but of course very doable. Around here, we see him trying to walk around the corners and walk around the behind. A lot of people just kind of walk straight into the enemy team, and they don't try to do this poking maneuver that he's doing right here. Often this guy is kind of poking, kind of going around, kind of going sneaky, and he's not always just jumping straight in. Like, he could just instantly have clicked in right there, but he waits a little bit, and he sees, now that the tanks are far up, I can get in, I can get behind, I can kill this Ana, and kill whoever the heck else I find, and just continue from there, and continue very safely. Just by waiting a few seconds, he got in a very opportune moment, where he could just play a lot better. You know, his team kind of got wiped right there. Not really much he could have done right there, but still, he did get to go in. As well with this, I will say that it is pretty hard to play Tracer on defense because you really have to kind of rely on your team dishing out a lot of damage. You just kind of stalling for a lot of time, and as well, you just kind of going in once the enemy teams are kind of disrupted. That's mainly when you can do great. But if your team isn't able to do that, it can be kind of difficult, and that's where she becomes kind of hard to play. As a lot of situations, it would be a little bit safer to play somebody, not safer, but you could do a little bit more consistent DPS if you play somebody like Soldier or McCree, but still as Tracer, you can do really well. And don't really be too afraid to play Tracer on defense. She can do pretty decently. I'll continue from right here. She's just jumping all about, trying to get as much damage as possible, trying to get off a pick, you know, whatever the heck she really can. Right there we see the Zenyatta ult. What she can probably do is ult to where Zenyatta is actually going to be. Instead, she just jumps to where, you know, it's going to be eventually. But yeah, they just kind of pick off the enemies, just stand on the cart. And she's trying to pick off people as much as possibly can. Because, of course, you want to stagger people as much as you can because you can hold them off for a few extra seconds. As Tracer, especially on defense, you can really follow people up and push them all the way back to their base. A lot of times you'll get a few kills and you'll come back. You can go a little bit further on defense if you have quite a few kills, because it's really kind of hard for them to know what to do. Right there was a really good example of Tracer timing the ultimate super well. He saw that the Zarya wasted his bubble, and then immediately after that, he went for his ultimate. He didn't really wait in between for having Zarya having a chance to get away. He just did that immediately, and you do have to kind of be bold as this character and just kind of get in there. Continuing from here, though, you know, he's just kind of walking around, trying to get as much poke as possible, and as well, trying to get charge. A lot of times, he'll just walk up, try to get headshots, and then walk back. And while he is charging the enemy support's ults, he's also, of course, getting his own ult up there really quickly. Right there, he sees somebody that's pushed up just a little bit too much. I think he hears somebody from the other direction. Headsets are super good for that. And here's that guy, decides to go after him. And right here, he really gets a good stall. He's doing what he did earlier, which is standing right around the cart, trying to find picks wherever he can. Unfortunately, didn't get that one, but he can continue to actually try to go just shooting his tracer. But yeah, he's just standing around the cart, trying to get as many picks as he can, and trying to kind of make so people will sometimes go to the right, sometimes go to the left, because you can just blink around so much. You can really disorient the enemies, and you can really give your team a hoot and a holler. As we see right here, he's making a lot of people have to focus on him and turn around to actually stop him, while this Widowmaker can just pull out a lot of damage. This can also apply if you're playing Tracer with a soldier on your team. If you're just bugging a lot of people, they're going to have to eventually start looking at you, or else you're just going to deal a ton of damage and start to kill them. And when they start to do that, if your team's ready, they can get in there, they can do a lot of damage, and they can just kind of multi the enemies. That's just really how this, continues to go on. He just sits on the point and just waits for them. Of course, they have this Widow ult, which is super, super nice with Tracer. Having that Widow ultimate makes you know so that you know exactly when they're going to be coming around the corners. And it also, especially against Roadhog, kind of prepares you for the Roadhog. Of course, you can hear him around the corners. But if you see him, you pretty much know that once you walk around the corner, he's going to instantly go for the shift, because that's what they almost always do. You can shift backwards, protect yourself, play really safely, and you should be good from there. Right here, he's just trying to hide a little bit. He could have been moving, I guess, a little bit, so he could have recalled backwards, but what he likes to do often is save his recall for a little bit more than what a lot of people would like to do. A lot of people like to instantly recall as soon as they have some damage. He usually waits a second and actually decides, maybe I can get away just with my shift charges or just with my blink charges, which is probably a good idea, because, of course, your recall is so good, and I feel like it's really a much better version than the shift, because it heals so much that it's usually a good idea to try to save it as long as you possibly can. But, of course, if you do feel like you have to go for it, just continue. As this keeps going with defense, though, they're just riding around the corner and really just doing the same strategy. He's just staying next to the point, while also jumping above, jumping below, and trying to get high ground, and also trying essentially just to stagger the enemy team. Really what he's been doing is not something that nobody could really comprehend. It's pretty simple, just the way that he's actually performing it. Staggering the team, getting a few picks here and there, and pushing people away from each other. It's a pretty simple strategy to do, but as we can see, it works out really, really well. And that's the thing I'd like to say. I feel like a lot of people think that in order to become a top 500 player, the best player in the world, of course, aiming is super important, all this stuff is super important, but very general and very good and just basic strategies can often win you and net you quite a few wins. You don't have to pull out these 100% carry moments every single game. Just playing very good and playing very consistently will often net you a lot more wins in the overall than just trying to go for these really hyped things. I'd essentially equate it to like playing Captain Falcon in a game like Smash Bros, because of course when you're doing that, often you go for these hype moments, but it'd be better to play someone that's a bit more consistent. That's just kind of how I like to say it. Anyways, from here, they're just walking around trying to get any picks that he possibly can. And of course, Tracer on offense, you really shouldn't be staying on the point. He knows where this Mei is, so he should be following up that Mei, just doing that perfectly. You can stay on the point, try to push it a bit, but often the time, it's better to try to just find where people aren't next to each other. Of course, if they're all grouped up, this is the thing you probably want to remember. If the entire enemy team's fully grouped up, you should probably stay next to your team, probably stay next to the point, and just kind of continue from there. But if they have anyone that's maybe even just a bit off to the side, you can try to distract them, so then they stop doing as much DPS. It's especially good when they have a soldier or someone like a Bastion, or as well if they're way too off to the side or way too far behind, as this N is right here. Well, you can just jump up and try to kill them. Unfortunately, that Reinhardt got him right there, but still, it was really good in thought. And sometimes, of course, just enemy teammates just happen to be unlucky for you. Even with that said, though, he did get their attention. If you actually look at his team, since they didn't have the Reinhardt, and since they didn't have the Ana because he was, baiting them backwards, his team actually got to go in and actually got to get a few good picks. So, even though he might not have gotten the kills himself, his teammates still did get the kills, which is something you want to remember. It's not always about how amazing your own KDA is. It's often about how well you are distracting people with this character, how well you're just doing some damage, and how well you're getting people to stop dealing so much damage to your team. Right here, he's got 2 or 3 people by himself looking at him, and his team can kind of just pick people off and go really, really ham on the enemy Reinhardt, and the enemy is just everybody. Which is something that it's kind of hard to actually notice. If you aren't looking for him just, making people kind of walk weird directions and just get out of the way for his team to actually get nice combos, it's kind of hard to tell that he's actually doing anything. But once you actually start to pay attention, you can really tell that he's really pulling a lot for his team, distracting people, and that can honestly win you a lot of games by itself. Continue from here, though, he just tries to get close up, playing really, really safe, making sure that he's at the exact range where he can shift out, or at least blink out before the Mei can hit him, or at least fully freeze him, and then just kind of continue from there. Right up here, he's trying to push up as much as he possibly can, pretty general idea what you want to do, get as much poke as he possibly can, probably get up that ultimate, stay right behind. Unfortunately for that Zarya, they didn't actually see this guy, but just kind of continues from here, and, he just keeps getting off picks. The Zarya in the corner is a really, really good thing to actually pick up, because Zarya does have really big trouble against Tracer, and you can just kind of continue from there. Overall, though, what I'm going to say about this guy is that, of course, aim is super important, of course, positioning is super important, but also getting the enemy's attention can also be a lot more important than you'd think. Sure, it's not as glorified, and there isn't a gold medal for as much attention as you can get, or for splitting the enemy team, but even without a medal, it can be one of the really important things. And even at ranks down from like gold up, it can be really, really important. I feel like a lot of people say, you know, these things only matter if you're in the top 500, if you're in Grandmaster. No, they really do work a lot of places. It's just kind of harder to tell, even for yourself. But if you do try to employ these a little bit more, you can actually win quite a few games. Maybe not every single game. Maybe you can't carry every single game with this, but you can definitely give your team the upper hand, which is what will give you eventually like a 52 or 53% win rate, which is definitely good enough to carry. Anyways, there you guys go. Hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy, make sure to tell me in the comment section down below. Tell me who you want to see next time. Leave a like if you want to see more future VOD reviews like these. Really like to do them. I know they are pretty basic for a lot of people, but I just kind of like to talk about what they generally do. And if you find any more stuff for yourself, make sure to leave that down in the comment section down below. So just kind of pointing out stuff and just kind of talking what I personally see from the VODs. Anyways, as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a wonderful day.